Welcome back to the FTN NFL Team Preview Series, sponsored by Boom Fantasy. Boom Fantasy, the only place to play those games for the casual and the hardcore fan. Make sure to use that promo code FTN to get up to 500 times your initial deposit only at Boom Fantasy. Folks, it's the Bengals. It's the Cincinnati Bengals, one of the favorites here in the AFC. And who do I go to for Bengals information? As always, Jay Morrison on X at @ByJMorrison. Jay, I am not going to bury the lead. Ja'Marr Chase, are we going to see him? It's a big issue, but he is back at practice. Talk to me. What are you hearing here about the leading wide receiver for the Bengals?
Yeah, well, we're not hearing much of anything. Both Ja'Marr and the Bengals are not saying a whole lot, which is totally out of character for Ja'Marr. He's a guy that really enjoys talking and chopping it up with the media. It's been odd not having him hold court in the locker room the way he normally does in the regular season. I think we're going to see him. It just never felt like this was going to be a case where he was going to miss games. He doesn't have the leverage to do that. He has 2 years left on his contract. Yes, he would like to get something done sooner, but I just think this was kind of a gentleman's agreement between him and Zach Taylor. That's why Zach wasn't saying much about it. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to practice, risk injury during the preseason. Now those games are out of the way and they're actually game planning and working toward the season opener. You're going to see him out there. I think he loses even more leverage if he sits out games and this team still goes 3-1 out of the gate, which I really think they could do with Commanders, Patriots, Panthers, 3 of those first 4 games. So I think you're going to see Ja'Marr out there. I don't think you're going to see the new deal, not until next offseason, but you are going to see Ja'Marr week 1 against the Patriots.
Yeah, certainly one of the big issues with the Bengals that's a positive is their schedule, strength of schedule here. And you mentioned it could get off to a great start. Jay, you do great work for Pro Football Network. Talk to me about the backfield here. We heard great things about Chase Brown. We heard the praise. Zack Moss there as well. How do you think the touch share is going to be? Who's running with the ones? Who's getting the majority of touches? Is it truly a split? Decipher the backfield co-force here for the Bengals.
I wish I could. I don't know that. I know I don't know the answer. I don't think the Bengals know the answer to this. I think it's going to be a work in progress throughout the year. It's going to be ride a hot hand kind of thing. I do kind of think early in September, the first 4 games, they're going to lean on Zack Moss a little bit more. I mean, Chase Brown is still really young in this, and he barely played last year, and they love everything about him. But I just think early on they're going to lean on Zack Moss a little bit more, and it doesn't mean that Chase Brown's not going to play, but I just think he's going to be more in the third, not even the third down back role, but just catching passes out of the backfield, maybe lining up in the slot. He went and worked with a wide receiver coach in the offseason. Coaches teammates been raving. He looks like a wide receiver running routes. He doesn't look like a running back running routes. And so I think he's going to be heavily involved. But I just think leaning on Zack Moss, particularly in the short yardage goal line situations early on, is the way this team's going to go. And then they'll just kind of ride the hot hand from there on out.
So assuming Chase is back, we know T. Higgins there as well. I'm curious your thoughts on the dynamic rookie Jermaine Burton, because we are split here at FTN. He certainly flashed in the preseason. I feel like every game I watched, Jay caught a touchdown down the sidelines there, but there are some players ahead of him. Do you think Burton has earned a spot to really see some more targets, or do you think it is going to be slow for the third-round rookie because there are other players there, Irwin, as well as some other players who are ahead of him right now?
I don't think this is a question of players ahead of him. I think this is a question of Burton versus Burton. You look at the plays he's made in the preseason. They've been go balls. He can do that. And he can do that very well. It's picking up the rest of the scheme and being in the right place all the time and earning Joe Burrow's respect. That goes so far with this organization, goes so far with Burrow, and he's just not there yet. Doesn't mean he won't get there, but he's a rookie trying to find his way. I think you're going to see a really small package of plays for him early, and then they'll try to expand it as the season goes. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's inactive in week 1. If you're at the back end of that receiver room, you've got to contribute on special teams. We haven't really seen him do that. Now, he did return kicks and punts in the preseason game 2 against the Bears. Did really well. Said it was the first time he'd ever done that in his life. So I don't know if they're going to be willing to trust him, put him back there in that role with so little experience. So I think this is going to be a slow roll with Jermaine Burton. And I think Andre Iosivas is going to be that wide receiver 3 to start the year.
Yeah, Iosivas is a guy I love grabbing in a lot of best ball drafts. Jay, I quote you all the time. I steal your quotes. One of which you shared with me last year or the year before is that Joe Burrow gets his tight ends paid. I love when you said that. Talk to me about the tight end position here. Mike Gesicki, some young tight ends as well who came in here to the team. Talk about that position, how it's going to be used, and what's really a consolidated target share for the most part. And then maybe you mentioned Brown in the slot, of course.
Yeah, well, and not just Brown, but I think you can see Jamar Chase in the slot a lot more this year. With the tight ends, Gesicki's going to be, I mean, he plays about 50% of his snaps detached out there in the slot. You're still going to see that quite a bit. I think he's going to be a real weapon in the red zone. I think he's going to have a good year, a la CJ Uzomah, a la Hayden Hurst, a la Tanner Hudson last year. I mean, Tanner Hudson, he was a journeyman in this league, and he has that great year last year, and he gets a 1-year, $1.3 million contract. Joe Burrow makes these tight ends really good. It's never going to be a huge volume because you got all these other weapons and all these other receivers, even in the passing game. But I think the real interesting one to watch here in that tight end room is the 4th round pick, Eric All, yes. Local kid coming off the ACL. They really kind of slow rolled him through OTAs, worked him back in camp. Now he's out there taking first team reps. This team has always been an 11 personnel team. They've led the league in that since Zach Taylor's been here. We're seeing them run a lot more 12, and they're going with Gesicki and Eric All on the field at the same time. Eric All is a very good blocker as well as receiver. All these other guys, Hudson, Gesicki, they're receivers first. They're not great blockers. Drew Sample, great blocker, not much in the receiving game. Eric All can do it all, and I really think we're going to see his role grow as the season goes on.
That's an excellent point. Last question, Jay, is always wonderful. We'll get you out of here. The defense. You're in one of the toughest divisions, if not the toughest division in the NFL. A lot of the games here towards the end of the year for some of these teams. You have Steelers, you have Ravens, you have Browns, of course. Is the quarterback going to be healthy? We don't know, but their defense is solid. Talk to me about the Bengals defense. Like you said, the schedule sets up well. If the defense can be solid, the offense stays healthy, this Bengals team has huge potential to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think there was 2 big issues last year. They fixed one. There was so much miscommunication and guys running wide open in the secondary. They gave up the 2nd most explosive pass plays in the league last year behind Washington. They went and brought Von Bell back. He's Lou Anarumo, the defense coordinator. He's his right-hand man. They bring in Geno Stone. So that back end is really fortified. I think they've looked great in practice. Everybody on the same page, not a lot of missed assignments. The other issue is they couldn't stop the run last year, and you're in a division where the Steelers, the Browns, Nick Chubb, the Ravens, now they've got Derrick Henry. They love to run the ball. They ran it down their throats last year, and this team lost DJ Reader. They let him walk in free agency. They draft McKinley Jackson in the 3rd round, but he's probably going to start the year on IR and miss the first 4 weeks with a knee injury. So I don't know that the run game, you just don't get a good sense of the run game defense in training camp. They're just thudding. They're not tackling. So that's the big question for me. If they get that shored up, I know the passing game is going to be much better. They've got everybody playing where they need to be playing now. Looks like Dax Hill has found a home as a cornerback after playing safety last year. I think this defense has a real chance to be a top 12 defense, and I do think they are going to be a ball-hawking defense, taking the ball away a lot, particularly with interceptions.
There's no one better with the Bengals, folks. On X by Jay Morrison, Bengals beat writer for Pro Football Network. Jay, you're the man. Give us a ton of insight. I'm going to keep stealing your quotes. Thank you so much. I'll check in later in the season. Can't wait to start here. Under 2 weeks to go to the start of the season.
Good talking to you, Mike.
The NFL Team Preview Series is sponsored by Boom Fantasy, your top choice for daily fantasy sports action. Boom Fantasy has the most innovative games that cater to both casual and hardcore fans. Win up to 500 times your entry only at Boom Fantasy. Download now on the App Store and Google Play. Use promo code FTN to get a no-sweat bonus up to